Welcome to another AgriData Inc. tutorial video. In this one we will be taking a look at a new product within the Surety Pro mapping system called the Deed Studio. The Deed Studio is designed to assist in mapping land boundary legal descriptions containing lines and curves that are described using the meets and bounds measuring system. It does this by automatically parsing out segments from the description and converting them to line and curve segments on the map. In this introductory video, we will touch on some of the key features of the Deed Studio by mapping out an example of a subdivision boundary that contains meets and bounds descriptions of lines and curve segments. Just like many other features within Surety Pro, we will start by selecting a client from our client selection. While not absolutely necessary, selecting a client enables us to create a sort of filing system for the legal descriptions and deeds that we will be entering into the system. Once that client is selected, we can immediately go up to your File drop-down and click on the Deed Studio option. As you can see by the title, it is still in the beta version, simply to indicate that we are still developing in order to bring you an even better product. First, let's take a look at the Deed Studio interface. Along the top, we can see a few buttons. The New, Open, and Save buttons are prominent to easily access. Send help request to AgriData will essentially send your current project to our support team at AgriData Inc. in order for them to assist you with a tough description. We can attach our original documents using the paperclip, adjust for magnetic declination, and here we can see and change our Surety Pro client. We have the Deed tab and the Plot tab. The Deed tab will allow us to name our deed, name our tracts. With the menu button, we can add more tracts to the project, add exclusions, edit the selected tract or exclusion, or remove the selected tract or exclusion. Here is where we either type or paste our tract text in order for the system to automatically parse out different segments. Let's go ahead and name our deed here. And we will tab over to our tract name and give that a name as well. Like I said, from here we can either start typing in the different calls or descriptions of this boundary. If you have a text document of the description, it's very easy just to copy and paste that text into the Deed Studio. Down here I have my Word document that contains the text for this description. I will simply select it all, right click and copy. Going back to my tract text box here, I will right click and paste it in. As you can see over on the right hand side, our segments are already starting to populate. And with these segments filled out, you can kind of look at them and see if there's anything that needs adjusting. And to adjust, we would just need to modify the text in the main text area. Once we have these segments created, we can now switch over to the Plot tab in order to start mapping our boundary. The Plot tab presents us with a new interface to use when mapping out a boundary. In order to start the drawing, we need to find the point of beginning. There are a variety of different ways to locate the point of beginning. Plus and minus buttons in the upper left are used to zoom in and out of the map. It is also possible to use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom in and out. The map can be panned simply by left-clicking and dragging it around. We can also zoom to a specific area by holding the Shift key on the keyboard, left-clicking and holding and dragging a box around a specific area. The left and right buttons will recall previous map extents and move forward a map extent as well. Search bar is potentially the easiest way to locate a specific location. The search can handle different search criteria such as cities, counties, townships, and legal descriptions. Certain formats need to be followed when searching and can be found by clicking on the question mark next to the search box. The location that we are looking for in the example can be found right within the text. This brings us to the segment panel. The parsed segments that we created in the deed tab earlier are now pulled in one by one in order to map the boundary. If you have multiple segments, the first segment will be what is used to determine the point of beginning. In our example, the point of beginning can be found fairly easily by copying and pasting text directly from this segment into the search bar. I will find the section, township, and range, as well as the county and state, and copy this. I'll then paste it into my search bar and click Enter on my keyboard to perform the search. The green box will tell us what to do to start mapping out our boundary. Currently it's saying to find and click on the point of beginning. You can do this by simply left-clicking on the precise position on the map. Here's a good time to use our zoom and pan functions in order to locate the southwest corner of section 31, like it states in our segment. We can change the look of the map by finding our Layers button and clicking on the Satellite option in order to bring up our satellite imagery. We can also turn on and off the sections by using the Sections check. In this case, we would like to leave them on because we need that corner point. Let's get a little bit closer here. And once we have our position, we can left-click to place our point. If you've misplaced this point, we can use the red X in the left-hand panel to delete the point and replace it. Or we can use the Edit Nodes button by clicking on that and simply left-click and drag it around the map. As you can see, after we place this point, the specific latitude and longitude has been documented in the left-hand panel and added. If this legal description had more measurements documented to find the point of beginning, it can be entered at this time. For example, if it is stated that the point of beginning was located north 00 degrees west 158 feet from the corner of the section, you click on the ellipses to enter the distance and bearing, and then click on the plus button to apply it to the map. This new point will then be your point of beginning of the boundary as soon as you click Next. Since we are done with our point of beginning, we will click Next. This is the point that we begin mapping the actual boundary segments. The Deed Studio will attempt to populate the correct call measurements in the measurement box. After verifying that the measurement has been parsed correctly by looking at our segment text, so we have a north 00919 east at a distance of 614.11 feet. So that looks correct. We can click on the plus button to add this segment to the map itself. We can then click the next button again and continue verifying and adding our segments to the map, and then clicking Next. If we reach a segment that is unable to be mapped out, then we can either fix the segment in the main Deed tab to try to get the Deed Studio to suggest the correct measurement, or we can click on the ellipses to add the call manually. In this case, the program saw that there was a curve within this segment. So when we click on the ellipses, it will present us with the curve documentation. We will simply fill out the information and then click OK to add it into the box. As you can see, when I'm entering any degrees, minutes, seconds, I leave out the degrees, minutes, seconds words and just fill them with spaces. To determine the arc side, we look at the text and compare it to the point of the last segment. So in this case, it's saying that the curve is concave to the north, which means that it's going to arc to the left. So this is the north, so it's going to arc to the left. Once we're done, we'll click OK, and it'll add that description into our box. You can see that we received a warning message stating that if using exact math, certain measurements should be as stated. Here we are extremely close, with our distance being 0.01 feet off. I am determining that is close enough, and I will click the plus button to plot this point on the map. In certain legal descriptions, it may state to follow certain landmarks for a particular distance. In these cases, you can place manual points on the map. Simply start clicking on the map to place the manual points. After clicking on the map, 3 measurements will be presented to you. The top purple measurement is the distance between the last placed point and where the cursor sits. The middle orange distance indicates the straight line distance between the start of the segment and the cursor. Finally, the yellow measurement totals the distance between all the placed manual points from the start of the current segment. Again, you can use the Edit Points or the Delete buttons to modify the placed points. Once the final segment is added to the map, the Deed Studio will tell us how close the last segment is to the nearest point. It will offer to close the polygon, and it calculates the acres of the closed polygon. Click Yes to close the polygon. Now that the boundary is closed and the deed is complete, we can modify the placement of the boundary on the map by using the arrow keys in the lower right-hand corner. So we can move it up, down, left, or right just by clicking these arrows. Once the placement is where you want it, let's go ahead and click on the Save button again to save our changes. We can always go back to the Deed tab. We can add more tracks, or we can add more exclusions or exceptions to the boundaries as well. Save again. And if we now go back to the Surety Mapping System tab, because we have closed our boundary and saved it, we can now zoom in to the area where that deed exists. Click on our Layers button if not already opened. You can click to enable the polygon itself with the deeds layer. And if you want to show the call measurements, click on the deed segments layer to enable that, and it will label each segment individually. You can always modify the look and colors of the boundary and polygon by using the layer properties.